tips for anyone wanting to start learning Pysanky. This is part 2. We're going to talk dyes. I get my dyes from Ukrainian accessories. It's pretty straightforward. There's always instructions printed out. You just follow them. I like to be all aesthetic. I use mason jars. If I was a true Ukrainian, I'd be using old. I'd be using the fancy Tupperware. It really doesn't matter. My mom used old salsa jars growing up. Whatever you have on hand. And I just boil water, fill this up, throw, I think it's 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. Read the directions, because some of the dyes, I think it's orange, you do not add vinegar. But most of them, you add 1 tablespoon of vinegar and mix it up, and then you just let it cool. Please make sure you let it cool before you put your eggs in, otherwise you'll cook the eggs. Don't do that. Don't do that. As you can see, I like to leave my eggs raw and whole and intact because they sink down into the dye and they fully get covered and it's nice and even. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Ukrainian accessories dye. Today we're going to do Laurentian green. Just a reminder that this is an industrial dye, so you don't want this on your clothing, your counter, that kind of thing. It will stain. So they do keep it sealed in these little packages for that reason. Very carefully put your dye inside your container of choice. I'm using mason jars. Next we are adding 1.25 cups of boiling hot water and a tablespoon of white vinegar. And I'm just using a compostable stir stick that I will dispose of immediately after to mix it all up. And that's about it. Now all you need to do is let this cool before you use it, and as long as you store it in a sealed container in a cool place away from sunlight, this dye will last you several eggs and several years. And just a reminder that cream soda pink is the only dye from Ukrainian accessories that you do not add vinegar to. The rest you do. So everybody's kind of different, and I really encourage you to experiment with this. But if I'm just progressing through an egg, like going from white to yellow and then say to red and then into black at the end, if I'm just working lightest to darkest, I don't worry about doing a vinegar rinse. Where I tend to worry about doing a vinegar rinse is if I'm shifting back and forth from using warm tones to cool tones or cool tones to warm tones. When you're shifting back and forth between cool and warm tones, that's when you can get that sort of muddled, kind of muddy looking colors instead of more vibrant colors. The Ukrainian accessories, their dye kit, it does come with this handy chart that tells you kind of when you want to be doing the vinegar rinse in between colors and when it's not necessarily something you need to worry about. Generally, if you're sticking with all warm tones or all cool tones, just lightest to darkest, and then if you're shifting back and forth between warm and cool, then you might want to use your vinegar rinse. But that's just me.